just to carry on some of those points that were raised about volunteer time, and also the large contracting sort of, position that we've got ourselves into. There is actually good practice from the English programmes from before that happening, and you know, we only need to look at how the programmes were prior to, well, certainly the current programme period. I remember in the 94-97 programme, volunteer time was there, and from memory it was £7.75 per hour. That's how much of a geek I am with this, but I actually remember the rate that was in the guidance at the time. So we have got some history in the English programmes of working like that, and maybe we just need to take a step back and look at how the promise of simplification, which was given to us with the co-finance model, actually put some more difficulties, actually, in fact, than it solved.
Yeah, I mean, the rationale for co-financing, matching funding, whatever you want to call it, is simply one of ownership. You know, I mean, we all know that 100% grant means zero ownership, and you know, the challenge is to find, firstly, the right balance. Secondly, there's an absolutely unbreakable rule which says you can't take EU funds from two different programs and add them together. You have to be funded by the EU only under one program. But beyond that, at our level, we don't care where the rest of the money comes from, and you know, it will be important to make sure that the sort of issues like in-kind funding, which includes volunteers and other services, that there is sufficient flexibility in the new programs to allow that to be used. Now, whether there's a way of adjusting some of the rules in the present program, I'm not sufficient expert to know. Certainly at the level of the English or UK rules, providing they're consistent with the overall EU rules, then they can be changed. Now, how much extra flexibility that would give? But I'm certainly very aware, you know, partly from personal experience. You know, my wife is involved in a social society organisation, of the difficulties of dealing with of getting funding, not from the EU in that case, but you know, the aim is that the thing doesn't become a purely European project, because that's not good anyway. But equally, we don't set out to make people jump through hoops. We do really try to get things as simple as we can square with the overall rules we have, because we have an awful lot of people looking over our shoulder, in media, yes, but also in the Member States and the European Parliament and the Court of Auditors, who are very keen to ensure that everything is absolutely traceable. And sometimes that's another issue that you need, and particularly for small organisations, I recognise that it's not easy to, you've got to be very aware at the start of what you need to do in order not to have nasty surprises down the track.
Can I? Yeah.
Well, just to slightly just recognise there's quite a consistent message coming through here. I think it is a very good and important principle to try and use taxpayers' money as much as possible as a catalyst for bringing in other contributions. I think that's what we're trying to do through a lot of our programmes. But as Tamara said, within the Social Action Fund and in Community First programmes, we've explicitly said we're happy for that match to be time, because there's less cash around and time can be extremely valuable. So my mind is open to this, and very happy to discuss with my colleagues in terms of proposals for the rules going forward. And interestingly, you say that back in 94-97, time was a currency in this consideration. It's probably, that was the time when we were coming out of the recession then as well. I suspect it was driven by the same consideration, which is less cash around.
Worth just saying as well a bit about the event on on Friday, which was around social enterprise, and it was the launch of a new commission paper, which I think is very interesting. I mean, it was a pretty dreadful event. It was sort of Euro Bean Festival, like 1,000 speakers, 25% of who were relevant to the subject. But actually, to give them credit, I think people in the Commission are beginning to understand the relevance and importance of social innovation, of social enterprise. And they are looking very much at the example set by the UK. That has been very influential, and they are looking at investment in terms of loans as well as grants, and I think that's a real advance, because frankly when you get into social finance, social investment, then you move away from issues like match funding. This is simply about making a social finance loan which you repay, and they are looking at that. The European Investment Bank has launched a new initiative involving 100 million euros where they will be making loans to support social innovation, and there is a new European fund which supports microfinance. I'm actually not completely sure, having read the stuff, whether this is just an extension of a grant fund or it's a loan fund. But anyway, the germ of the idea
can be both. Yeah.
That's I mean, the germ of the idea is there, and again, it's something which the UK has led. We are world leaders in the concept of social finance, with a lot of very strong and good experience, and I think that takes off. I think really